Hello and welcome to the Defender. Oh shit, I gotta redo that. Okay.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Defenders. I'm James, the DC Defender, and this is my sidekick,
Not a sidekick.
Dustin. Pineapple Head.
Pineapple head?
Pineapple Head.
Not a sidekick.
Your sidekick.
All right, so James, I got a question for you this week.
All right, what you got?
Have you heard what Joe Russo said about the ending of Endgame?
I have heard bits and pieces.
Okay. So, just right off the bat, spoilers. If you haven't seen it, you're probably not interested in seeing it anyway.
If
But
you haven't seen it, what the is wrong with you?
I don't
Why
know.
are you not part of the $2.5 billion this movie has made?
Yeah, currently second highest grossing film of all time. Yeah.
Coming for you, Avatar.
Coming after you this Sunday.
Wait, hold up. I'm gonna get you in the cage, brother. You
Sunday,
know
Sunday.
the coolest fact, though, before we get into this, I think
Uh-huh.
one of the coolest things is Zoe Saldana, aka Gamora,
Yeah.
is the only person in film history to be in two movies that have grossed over $2.5 billion.
Damn.
Gamora, and then she was the blue chick in Avatar.
True.
And if you love Avatar, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. So,
And Infinity War, so that would be 3.
did Infinity War do 2.5?
I think it made 2, right?
Yeah.
Or was it still in 1?
I think it
don't
was
know.
2, but I don't think it was 2.5. That's
Oh,
what the
gotcha.
thing that I saw was over 2.5.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
if you were confused by the ending of Endgame, like I was, and like many other people were, apparently, you didn't understand how the movie stuck to this very strict guideline when it came to time travel, and then Captain America just goes and fucks it all up. Right?
Yeah.
Excuse my language.
Oh, you said pie word.
But he goes back in time and he stays there. And then apparently he just waits around to give the shield back to Sam. Right?
Yeah.
So Joe Russo came out and he said, no, like there's actually something there. It's just the movie was way too long. He created a branching timeline. He lived out the past the way he wanted to, most likely being a superhero, and then jump back to our time, or the 616, right? With the PIM
Well,
particles.
isn't 616 the comic universe? Like, this is totally different.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that, but I mean, it's completely different, and they just throw up the 616. So I just
Yeah.
the main timeline.
Yeah. Main
Okay.
MCU.
So, what do you think this means going forward?
Well, I mean, it kind of explains the Spider-Man trailer. Mysterio's in there, and Nick Fury introduces Spider-Man into it. Mysterio goes, "Ah, nice to meet you. I wish we had one of you in our universe, or on my world, or something like that." And that's when they start off the whole the events of Endgame. You know, they messed things up. The snap totally snapped everything up. You know,
Huh.
so. And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." But now, I mean, hearing Joe Russo's explanation, it kind of makes more sense.
Well, I mean,
Because
obviously that's all just a bullshit story, though, right?
it could be. I
Like
mean,
Mysterio's got to just be fooling everybody.
well, I mean, if you remember, and I'll bring it up, Spider-Man,
Uh huh.
the comic book arc where I think it was, I don't remember if it was Amazing Spider-Man, but one of the Spider-Mans ends up going into the Ultimate Universe where that Peter Parker's already died. So Miles Morales is the Spider-Man there
Yeah.
because he's following Mysterio, who can jump through dimensions.
No shit.
So I'm wondering if we're going in this route, and hey, we may get Miles Morales, or are we just gonna have it all this illusion?
I mean, I definitely think after hearing this, though, this is going to be their loophole every time they want to introduce like a new like IP that say they haven't
Yeah,
had, since they
yeah,
started the
like
MCU.
the X-Men, and
But
because I think I
yeah,
agreed with you. Me and you had this conversation one time, and it may have been on the podcast.
Uh huh.
where we were talking about how you can introduce the X-Men, and you told me, oh my god, it was the Scarlet Witch storyline. I can't remember the name.
Oh,
House
House
of
of M.
M. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is actually an amazing way to bring it in. Or, I mean, if you do the snaps, like the snap all of a sudden, when, again, spoilers, when Tony snaps and gets rid of Thanos, maybe or when Hulk brings everybody back, it kind of messes up and people start getting these mutant powers. And all of a sudden we have the X-Men.
Yeah. He did say there was, or Kevin Feige said, rather, that he's going to hold off on the X Men for 5 years.
Yeah.
I still think he's, going to hold true on that. But I think this is the perfect opportunity to introduce the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. A good Fantastic Four.
Yeah. And it makes so much more sense, too. Like, they could have existed all this time, but maybe they have to come to our universe for some reason.
Yeah, it'd be kind of funny to see, like, you know, Cap be. I know Chris Evans isn't around anymore
Uh huh.
for the anything, but it would be kind of funny to see the Fantastic Four come over and meet up with Captain America, and they kind of, and then look at Johnny and
Yeah.
you know,
So,
yeah, so had the Spider-Man moment.
yeah. And this could explain a lot of the TV shows, too.
Yeah, we got Falcon and in fact they just released a poster for that today, and we're going to time the recording.
Oh, I'm talking about like the other TV shows, like Cloak and Dagger,
Oh,
never
that's
had a
true.
snap moment.
And then did the defend or not the Defenders?
Netflix.
No, Hulu's The Runaways.
Oh, I haven't watched that one yet, so
Yeah,
I
was
doubt
I
it.
watched a little bit of Runaways, but I couldn't really get into it.
Yeah.
But I haven't. I mean, I think, in fact, the meme that's kind of made me laugh is like the Netflix shows.
Uh huh.
They've got the where they're doing the circle thing, and
Oh,
like
the
it's got
circle with the
Daredevil.
arrow
Yeah,
pointing
and
to
like
it. Yeah.
yeah, he's like the Daredevil, and them are just standing there. It's gonna open any minute now. And I had
It's
one
not happening.
guy, on this one group that I was a part of. I was watching or reading. Everybody's like, "How are they going to not give the Marvel Netflix show some love?" And let me explain that real quick. The reason I didn't do it is because they can't yet. I think we've discussed it before. There's a contract with Netflix
Oh yeah, you have to
that
wait
they
like
can't use the
2 years.
characters. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's why they wasn't in game. Now stop it,
Yeah. Stop hating.
stop it. Bad.
Bad internet.
Here, put out your hand.
And so, who do you think the next villain's gonna be?
I've heard rumors. One of them is Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah.
I've heard, and that would kind of give some, if like say they were to sign Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. to another movie,
Uh
and
huh.
Kang did kind of mess with timelines, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So that would be a good way to try to get them back for at least one movie.
Yeah. His
And
thing is
then,
he always comes from the future and he's like,
yeah,
"Hey, stop fucking with stuff. Stop it.
yeah,
Stop it."
you're not supposed to snap. But try to think of who else may be the big bad.
I would put my money on Galactus.
That would be something. That
Yeah.
would be a way to get Fantastic Four over too.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm talking about like the big bad, like the Thanos, not like
Yeah,
the guy who's going to show up in the next movie and they're going to fight once and he's
like
going to
Ultron.
go to jail or most likely die because it's MCU and they kill off all their villains for some reason.
Ultron. Kevin Feige,
Ultron.
if you're listening, Ultron.
Joss Whedon. Ultron.
Ultron. Oh, speaking of Whedon, what did you think about in the movie when Cap is worthy?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was
So
amazing.
I
Like,
did.
What else are you gonna say about it?
Like, so we're like those crazy guys who every once in a while we get on a kick where we watch theory videos.
Uh huh.
So there's been a ton of them out there since the spoiler ban has dropped.
Uh huh.
One of them is, how did Cat become worthy? So I started watching it, and they're like, well, maybe with like Bucky, or not Bucky. Trying to think of who it was. Maybe like he knew that Bucky killed Tony Stark's parents.
Yeah.
So now that Tony knew, he had that guilt off of his shoulders of knowing.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, maybe that guilt leaving made him worthy. And so somebody asked Joss Whedon, and like I think it was back in 2015 or 2016. It was just after Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
And he was at the Nerd HQ with that Zachary Levi, aka Shazam,
Yeah.
guy who got Jamie slapped. So, but he was at his Nerd HQ panel at Comic Con, and the guy comes up to the mic and goes, "Why isn't Cap worthy?"
Uh huh.
Joss Whedon's answer was, "What makes you think he isn't?"
Huh.
So one of the things I saw, and I thought this was a pretty cool thing, was once he started moving the hammer,
Uh huh.
he stopped. Like he stopped trying to actually pull,
Yeah.
so that he wouldn't embarrass Thor, because he's awesome like that.
I've also got a theory.
What's that?
I think the Captain America was not worthy until he went back into the past. You want to know why?
Why?
I think he had never really taken a look at himself. When he saw himself laying on the ground and he realized that he possessed America's ass, I think he realized that he was worthy
Yeah,
to wield
that's
the hammer.
America's ass. That was one of the best lines.
That is America's ass.
Yeah. Well, speaking of people being worthy,
Uh huh.
let's talk about the main worthy man.
Fat Thor.
Yes,
Oh my
finally.
God.
So I've been wanting to cosplay it for years, but you've always got the body shamers and stuff like that. I now have somebody I can cosplay.
I finally feel, as a Marvel fan, I have representation in the MCU.
For real, man.
I've felt ostracized for years, alienated, even.
Yes, my belly appreciates you, Joe, and Joe's brother, who I can't think of at this time. Because
I
I'm too
want to
busy.
see. I want to see Fat Thor take over the cosplay thing. You know how it's always Deadpool.
Yeah,
It's always Deadpool.
Well,
I want to
let's
see a whole bunch of really fat dudes dressed up like the Big Lebowski, like the dude, just walking around,
Stormbreaker.
just. So the Reality Stone.
So,
This was my old flame.
yeah. That was probably one of the best scenes, is when he's walking around, he sees his mom and he starts bawling like a baby.
Yeah.
That was great. I love Thor has become like one of the best characters in the MCU.
Oh, he's great.
I mean, I got a little bit upset with the Hulk, I mean, he dabbed.
He did kind of dab a little bit.
He's like, dab. And I'm like, no. Have you heard what they're saying though about his arm?
I heard it's permanent.
I did too, and that's a no too.
What do
In
you
my
mean?
opinion, that's a no, because I think all it's going to take is Hulk to get ticked off,
Uh huh.
and it needs to have, because I mean that was one of the funniest scenes too. He's like, "Go smash something," I guess. He's like, "Really?" And so he's just walking around. Oh, flips a car. They're like, but I want to see angry Hulk. I want World Breaker Hulk.
That'd be cool.
That's how I thought. My theory was that's what was going to be in this movie, was World Breaker Hulk versus Thanos. And Thanos was going to get the crap kicked out of him, right?
Uh huh.
And then somebody was going to hit that snap.
Is it a little weird to you that they added in like the whole consequences for using the glove in the first place?
Yeah, I mean a little bit. I mean with Thanos, it really kind of threw me off, because if I remember correctly in the books, it didn't really do anything, because he was I mean, he's Thanos is the best way to put it, but he's like one of the strongest characters in the MCU.
Yeah, but
But
everybody's. Well, I say everybody, but most people who use the glove in the comics never was an issue.
yeah,
Cap
I
used
mean,
it.
like, but I mean, like he snaps him out,
Mm-hmm.
and that like almost kills him. So he's like Shrek walking around farming.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a remote to the galaxy. I mean, it
Yeah,
never hurt people in the comic. I just thought it was odd. I don't know. I don't want
yeah,
to harp on it too much. It
yeah.
just
Now let me ask you: did your theory plan out when you were watching it? Did you have any theories pan out?
I definitely called Cap Stan in the past. I said
Yeah.
it on one of the episodes. I said it somewhere. I don't remember where it was. But I was like, how cool would it be if he finally gets to go back and stay with Peggy Carter?
My theory was totally switched from what happened.
Oh yeah?
And I thought Cap was gonna die, and that Tony would, you know, retire.
Uh-huh.
And let me tell you my theory why. Because I didn't think about this until after the movie, but Spider-Man shows up with a new suit and Far From Home.
Oh, you're talking about the black suit?
He's got the black, so I was like, oh, Tony probably made him a new suit.
Yeah.
So like he's not like doing the full time superhero thing, but Tony's like made him a new suit. And then it happened, and I was like, and then somebody was like, well, maybe Shield gives it to him.
Yeah, and that makes sense. They don't
I
want
was like,
people to
oh,
recognize him,
yeah.
so
I was
they
like,
don't want him wearing the Spider-Man
yeah. So I was like,
colors.
oh, that makes total sense now.
Yeah.
But I mean, that being said, like my heart hurts still kind of as a nerd that Robert Downey Jr., the man who started this, really.
Yeah.
If they wouldn't have rolled the dice with Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man, we would not be here talking about it right now.
True.
And I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is probably one of the best actors out there.
I will say, like watching that movie, as soon as it got to the point where it showed his daughter, I was like, Tony's dying.
I was praying that wasn't going to happen because I said at the beginning, I told somebody my theory at the beginning.
Yeah.
So I was praying I was right.
She
Nothing
she
against Chris Evans and Cat, but he's the only one who's like, I'm not going to be back. So
she's like, I love you 3,000. I'm like, I'm 3,000% sure he's dying at the end of this.
this is going to suck.
Yeah. It was a bummer, but
Yeah.
he's been doing it for so long, and this is the best time to exit. You're
Yeah.
exiting on
Well,
top.
somebody said, and I think they said Pepper kind of put it, he's been fighting this whole time. He can finally rest. They're going to be okay. You can rest, is what she told him.
Yeah.
And then he goes on. Somebody said that he would never stop fighting. He was always going to be in a fight no matter what. If like somebody's in trouble, he's going to be there trying to help.
Oh, and he's a futurist too, so he's always
Yeah.
trying to prevent the next problem.
Yeah, like with Ultron.
Yeah. Still a bad idea. Are you just gonna do that face every time you mention
It,
Ultron?
this is going to be the next running joke. I apologize to any of our viewers who don't want to see me go.
It's gonna keep happening.
Yeah. We're just going to be like in some random conversation. So Florida man, Ultron.
Oh, man.
But okay, back to But I mean Tony's, and I've heard so many theories about the end of Endgame. They didn't have any end credit scenes,
Yeah.
but they had the little sound clip, chink, chink,
Yeah, it's like him
chink.
building the armor.
I've heard there were so many people trying to turn that into something else. Somebody told me it was Doctor Doom building his armor.
Oh, that'd be amazing, but it's not.
I said no, that's him in the cave, my guy.
And I want to state like how like seriously fucked up it is that they do 10 years worth of movies where they train you to stay until after the credits, and then the final one in that 10-year run, they're like
Somebody
nothing.
told me again, theory video.
Uh-huh.
I heard the reason they didn't do it was because it was such a powerful movie for the end that it shouldn't need an end credit to make you want the next because it's the end. But then I heard, and I think it was actually Joe Russo, or it was one of the Russo brothers, I think, who said it.
Mm-hmm.
But Spider-Man: Far From Home is kind of the epilogue. So it's going to be like the Spider-Man: Far From Home is really the end, not Endgame.
That makes sense. I mean, he's so
Yeah.
connected to Tony,
Yeah.
and
I
like
mean,
you said, I never caught that thing about Mysterio. So
in the trailer, I mean, he's still boohooing over Tony.
yeah, who's gonna be the next Iron Man? I
Yeah,
did catch that part
I actually did tear up a little bit at one point.
when you saw the memorial.
No, when it was when they were on the plane and they're talking about how much they miss me. He goes, I miss him too, kid. But I don't think he would have done what he did if he didn't think you were going to be here to pick up. I was like, oh,
Damn,
oh,
damn.
oh. It's like Marvel, you got me.
Yeah, I love the theory video. Um, theory that
Yeah,
when that moral shows up, people have been like, "It's Miles Morales.
yeah.
It's Miles. He's the only person who knows how to use the spray paint in the whole MCU."
But I mean, it's not going to be Miles. I'm sorry, guys, because it looked like it was when he was over in Italy.
France, right?
Well, he's like they go around the world,
Oh, they're
pretty
just
much.
like globetrotting around Europe or something.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think because I watched the Jimmy Kimmel interview, and I think it was like Prague, Venice, Paris. I can't remember all the places they said, but
Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
Huh.
But you want to know one other thing that made I told Tani, she was laughing at me because I was okay. So I'm gonna make myself feel old here, but we were recently. I had to go to the hospital, had an anxiety attack. Blah 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 blah. Long story short, they put me on what they called Super Xanax. So I was
Super
taking
Xanax?
selfies. Yeah, I was taking. That's when I sent you the selfie. So, so they freaked me. They set my blood pressure as higher because they were like, "Oh, we took a test and you're not having a heart attack." That wasn't even in my head. I thought it was an ulcer or something, right?
Yeah.
That was causing me this issue. And they're like, it's not a heart attack. I could have a heart attack. Come on now. I'm only 31. So, but I was sitting there, and I think it was when I was on the Super Xanax. But I looked at Tanya when I made myself sad. And she goes, why? And I showed her this picture that Boss Logic did. And who, if you don't know who Boss Logic is, he's this awesome artist who does like all these awesome like fan art. And it was Spider-Man walking, and there was like Tony as like a forest ghost almost,
Oh, that's cool.
like with his arm over. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh. But then like he did one that he posted, and Chris Evans actually responded to. So it was the scene where Cap versus Cap.
Uh huh.
However, it was Chris Evans Cap versus Chris Evans from Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So he's hitting him with the skateboard instead of the shield.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, but it made me laugh. And Chris Evans like, this is the most hilarious thing I've ever seen.
I wish Peter Parker could see like our universe's comic books of the Marvel universe. Like he's
Yeah.
gonna be like, "Oh man, I miss Tony." And he's looking at Spider-Man comics and stuff, and he sees that Tony hooked up with MJ.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Now that's something. What do you think of this version of MJ?
Um, I remember at first being kind of like, "She's not MJ. She doesn't have red hair and stuff." I don't give a fuck. She's awesome. I like her. I don't care.
Now, I'm not. I was one of those people who were against it because, again, like you said, she doesn't have red hair. MJ was like supposed to come in out of nowhere for like Peter's prom or something.
Yeah.
And like I remember looking at it going, she can't be MJ. She doesn't have that model look and da 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 da.
Yeah.
And then like they showed she's like cleaned up a bit. She's not as like, I guess is the best way to. I'm trying to figure out the best way to put it. She's not. When I say clean up a bit, she's not as
Well, she's always in like a relaxed, like very slumped over, pose
Yeah,
and stuff. And
and now and I don't want to say perked up. It's more like I'm trying to think, almost grungy looking.
okay,
Yeah, she almost looked like she listened to Nirvana in the '90s.
all right.
So yeah, in the
Seattle
first
rocker.
movie,
Yeah.
yeah. So and now she's more Blink 182.
She just looks like a normal person.
Yeah,
Um, no, I mean I'm fine with it. I
yeah,
feel like I'm having this revelation. I feel like I'm woke, if you will, because I've
yeah,
always been on like the side of like the shitty fandom, and lately I'm just like, I don't care.
yeah. I mean, well, look at like let's put it this way. I mean, when Thor was first coming out,
Yeah,
when they were first talking about casting, they were like, "Oh, they cast two unknowns," talking about Tom Hiddleston and Thor
yeah.
or Chris Hemsworth, to play him, and everybody's like, "Oh, can you imagine anybody else playing that now?"
No, not really.
Chris Hemsworth, I mean, is like Thor embodied,
Yeah,
and then Tom Hiddleston is like probably one of the best villains I would say of the MCU because I mean he's like that villain that you love to hate but also hate to love.
yeah, true.
So
Yeah, like Loki in the comics is much more of like a genuine threat,
yeah,
And now in the movies, he's like comic relief. He's definitely still. You got to be cautious around him and stuff, but he's more of like comic relief
well,
and
I mean
fun.
like he's escaped now too.
Oh,
Yeah, he's got the Tesseract and he escaped.
yeah,
So I'm interested to see where we go from there.
yeah, that's cool.
Maybe that's part of the branched off system. There's another branch.
Yeah,
So
and I think I had kind of like a revelation like when Captain Marvel came out, because I didn't like her in the comics. Never really was fond of her. And I remember when the movie came out, I was kind of bummed out about it. I watched the movie, I was kind of bummed out about it. And at one point, I was just like, I guess these movies aren't for me anymore. And then Endgame came out, and it was just fantastic.
yeah.
You know?
Now I'm not gonna lie, I didn't hate Captain Marvel when it came out, but it
Yeah.
wasn't my favorite.
Uh huh.
However, I started thinking about it afterwards. I took my wife,
Yeah.
Mrs. DC Defender. And she loved it,
Yeah.
and I mean she was like I ended up having to download on my Comixology app. I downloaded one of the Captain Marvel volumes
Yeah.
for
But
her to read.
my point is that like after I saw that like things were still good after that and
Yeah,
stuff, and they weren't like completely focused on this character, I just I feel like I kind of came to the realization that like stuff's gonna keep on happening. I don't know where it's going now, and at this point, it's just gonna be fun.
yeah, because
You
that
know?
was everybody's big theory was Captain Marvel was going to come in and just kick the crap out of Thanos.
Yeah,
And I mean, the first act, Thor's the one who chops his head off.
yeah, and they took the very cool road of saying like, yeah, she's too strong to just stay right here. Like
Yeah,
she's not gonna handle all of Earth's problems. Like the rest of the universe is having their own issues, and
yeah.
she is
So
much more qualified to help with those.
that's what I like. Like somebody even somebody said, why aren't you on Earth here helping? She's
Yeah,
like, well, there's other planets that this exact thing's happening. I gotta go help them.
yeah, and it might sound like a dumb reason, but like that was one of the reasons why Doctor Strange has always been one of my favorite characters. Is he knows when to set out. Like
Yeah,
Civil War, he didn't want to get involved. You know,
yeah.
like I just always thought that was a really cool quality to have in a character.
And I mean, that was somebody you hated too. That was I remember when I sent you the text message about Benedict Cumberbatch being Doctor Strange. Oh yes, I was hyped for it because I was a Sherlock fan,
Yeah,
and you were like, "No, that's not. He can't do it." And now he's like one of the best at it. I mean, he did an amazing job.
yeah. I mean, still like his movie was a little weaker than I wanted it to be and stuff, but he was awesome in Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
he's just. Well,
it
I
was
mean,
so
he
cool.
just got to sit there and meditate.
Yeah.
I could do that. Hold on. Cast me in Doctor Strange too, y'all. Kevin Feige. Ultron.
Fact Doctor Strange. Fat Pusher. Frank Whitecastle.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up the episode.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
It's a good episode.
Yeah, it was fun. Nice and short.
Yeah. Ultron?
All right. Follow us on social media. Like, comment, and subscribe. Anything else?
Click the bell for notifications.
Yeah.
That's what everybody says.
Click that fucking bell.
Click the bell.
I think it's on James's side.
Or just bring it in.
All right. See ya.
All right, see y'all.